He denied her a simple loan, mocked her for being a black farmer, but he had no clue the ground under his entire bank actually belonged to her. Sunlight faded over Willow Creek, the small American town where everyone knew everyone, and where judgment spread faster than truth. On a quiet Thursday morning, a tired but determined black woman named Ava Brooks pushed open the tall glass doors of Clearstone Bank. Her clothes carried the dust of her farmland, her hands were rough from endless work, but her eyes held a fire most people ignored. As she walked in, a few customers glanced at her, whispering. Some smirked, but Ava was used to it. She wasn't here for their approval. She was here to save her family's farm. Behind the counter sat Richard Halden, the senior loan officer. White, polished, arrogant. A man who enjoyed power a little too much. When he saw Ava approaching, he leaned back in his chair with a look that said he had already decided her fate. "Good morning," Ava said gently. "I'm here to discuss the emergency loan application for my farm." Richard didn't even hide the smirk. "Right, you again." Ava set her papers down. "I've got the updated financial documents. The drought hit us hard, but Richard raised his hand, cutting her off. Ava, let's be realistic. Farming requires resources, stability, and honestly," he lowered his voice, but not enough to hide the insult. "People like you usually don't manage land well." A customer standing behind Ava looked uncomfortable, but Richard didn't care. He flipped through her documents intentionally slow, making small comments under his breath. Outdated equipment. Poor crop yield. Seasonal income. Then he looked straight at her. "This loan is not happening." Ava swallowed hard. "Richard, I just need enough to replant. My father kept that farm running for 30 years. If I lose the next cycle—" "You mean if you lose it?" he corrected, voice dripping with sarcasm. Ava took a deep breath, refusing to let him see her break. "I brought collateral. The land boundary documents, tax papers," but Richard actually laughed. "You brought paperwork? Sweetheart, you'd need something far more valuable to convince this bank." Ava's jaw tightened. For the first time in their entire conversation, she looked him dead in the eyes, and something in her expression made him pause. "Are you sure about that?" she asked calmly. For a moment Richard frowned, unsure why her tone had shifted. Ava slowly opened her folder, pulling out one single document, older and thicker than the rest. She didn't show it to him fully, only the corner of a faded seal. Richard leaned forward. "What's that supposed to be?" Ava slid it back inside before he could see. "Just something you might want to look at, but only after you treat me with respect." Richard scoffed again, covering his uneasiness. "Respect is earned, not demanded." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She simply said one sentence that made the nearby customers turn their heads. "Richard, this bank has existed for 22 years, right?" He nodded slowly. She continued, "And you know the land it stands on. The land it pays monthly lease for. The old foundation records. Do you know whose name was originally attached to it?" Richard tried to act unfazed. "I don't see how that's relevant." Ava gave a faint smile, not arrogant, not sarcastic, just quietly confident. "It's more relevant than you think." Something about her tone made Richard sit straighter in his chair. For the first time, he wasn't in control. He reached out his hand impatiently. "Fine, show me the paper." Ava gently closed her folder and hugged it back to her chest. "Not today." Richard blinked. "Excuse me?" Ava turned away, but not before giving him a final look that made the room go silent. "I came here asking for help, not permission, and certainly not judgment." She took one step toward the door. Richard stood up abruptly. "Hey, don't walk out like that. If you think you can convince me with—" Ava stopped, her voice calm but cutting like ice. "Richard, do you remember the name of the original landowner this bank leased from when you first opened?" He hesitated. "Some farmer family. Brooks or something." Ava nodded slowly. "That's right." Richard froze. "And you never wondered where those rights went?" "After my father passed away?" His face dropped, confusion turning into fear, the kind he didn't want anyone to see. "But that would mean—" he whispered. Ava opened the door, sunlight pouring around her. "You'll know everything soon," she said quietly. Then she walked out, leaving Richard standing there, stunned, confused, and terrified that the woman he had just humiliated might hold more power than he ever imagined. Ava's fingers tightened around the old, worn envelope as she stepped back into Halden County Bank the next morning. She had barely slept, not because of fear, but because she finally knew the truth her father had been trying to leave behind. As soon as she entered, the lobby turned silent. Some customers recognized her from yesterday. The quiet, black woman the loan officer had humiliated publicly. Some whispered, some looked away awkwardly, and some waited, sensing something big was about to happen. Richard Halden was already at his desk, loud as ever, lecturing a young employee about standards and undeserving applicants. When he noticed Ava, his eyebrows lifted with pure annoyance. "Oh, look, she's back," he said loudly, making sure the room heard. "You still don't qualify for a loan. Didn't get the hint yesterday?" Ava didn't react. Her calmness unsettled him. "I'm not here to ask again," she said quietly. "I'm here to finalize something." Richard laughed. "What could you possibly finalize? You don't have collateral, you don't have a co-signer, and frankly," he leaned closer, "people like you don't get approved in my bank." The words echoed. Customers shifted uncomfortably. Mary Collins, the middle-aged woman who had seen everything yesterday, stepped a little closer, her eyes flickering with support. Ava opened the envelope slowly. Inside was a 50-year-old land deed, her father's handwriting still visible on the edges. "Before we go any further," Ava said, keeping her voice steady, "I need your manager present." Richard scoffed, but waved for the manager anyway, eager to expose her again. Tom Weaver, the bank manager, arrived looking stressed. "All right, what's happening now?" Tom asked. Ava handed him the document. Tom read the first line. His eyes darted to Richard, then froze, then back to the paper, then to Ava. Richard snatched the paper impatiently, scanned it. This can't be right," Tom whispered. What is this?" And his expression cracked for the first time. Ava finally lifted her chin. He stuttered. "He left me the original deed to Plot 47A, the ground this entire bank is built on." "My father left me more than farmland," she said. "I do." "Your bank doesn't own the land." Richard's face drained. The lobby gasped. That's impossible. We bought this land decades ago." Tom swallowed hard. "No, Richard. We leased it. The bank never purchased the property. We've been paying rent to the Brooks estate for over 40 years. Ava continued, pulling out the second paper, the most important one. "And according to this updated registry, which I verified yesterday, your lease expired last month. You're operating on my land illegally." The silence was so heavy it felt like it bent the air. Mary Collins whispered, "Oh my God." Ava stepped forward just once, enough to reclaim her place. "So here's what's going to happen," she said firmly. You won't be denying my loan anymore. In fact, she extended the final sheet. You'll be issuing it under the Landowner Priority Program. The same program you offer wealthy applicants. Richard's mouth opened. No sound came out. Tom stared at the paperwork, then nodded quickly. Absolutely, Ms. Brooks. We'll process it immediately. And on behalf of the bank, I sincerely apologize. Ava didn't look at Richard, but the room did. All eyes were on the man who insulted her, degraded her, and tried to destroy her dignity. He lowered his head, humiliated by a truth he could no longer control. Ava took her papers back, turned toward the door, and said calmly, "You should never judge someone by where they stand, because you may be standing on their ground." And with that, the entire bank watched her walk out. The woman they mocked yesterday, the woman who owned everything beneath their feet today,